Welcome to the MLB Slate Breakdown. I'm Jason Gilbo. With me is Brent Hyden, taking a look at tonight's 8-game slate on FanDuel and DraftKings. We got Coors on the slate, which woke up over the weekend with the Cubs in town. Looked a lot more like Coors.
Yeah, we finally got some Coors games, and unfortunately it came whenever I was, for the most part, fading Coors. We had Albert Almora turning into like freaking Barry Bonds out there, and Javi Baez continuing to do what Javi Baez does and swings at everything, but still getting the ball put in play and had a good weekend. So hopefully Coors continues tonight because we got a really bad pitcher, and then we have Cy Bettis, who is like freaking ridiculously good at home for some reason on the mound out there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good slate. Like, we got a lot of pitching options. We have Coors, quite a bit of value on this slate as well, kind of mixed in with some of these good offenses. So should be a fun one. I kind of expect this night to probably be pretty high scoring.
Yeah, it should be, and it's pretty easy to get some of these high price bats in your lineup because pitching there's a couple high priced guys, but there's some good like lower priced options on the slate too.
I'll start in this first game here, Minnesota and New York. Masahiro Tanaka taking on Jake Odorizzi. I feel like Tanaka's kind of underpriced.
I do too. He's somebody that I wrote about in the pitching article. He's 8,800 on DraftKings. That's really, really cheap for a guy with some upside in this matchup. And I don't want to go too in depth into why I really, really like him in this spot because, I want people to click the article and sign up and read it. So I don't want to give away everything, but there's some things that he's doing as far as with his pitch mix that could lend him having some success in this spot against a Twins team that does struggle with strikeouts at time. I mean, they're striking out about 24% of the time against right-handed pitching. They've shown to kind of disappear at the plate from time to time, and I think this is a spot where he can have some success.
Yeah, I do too, and I'm not terribly worried about majority of the lefties in this lineup. Going back to last year, 55% ground ball rate against lefties, 26% strikeout rate. Some pretty solid numbers there.
Yeah, and you're mostly worried about the righties. He does struggle with home runs, 1.9 home runs per nine, 342 WOBA allowed to righties. But you're gonna have to deal with Brian Dozier, Miguel Sano striking out like 50% of the time this season. Dude's just swinging at everything, and occasionally he's making good contact, but for the most part he's not. So you're basically getting one or two free strikeouts there. So there's a bat like Eddie Rosario and maybe Max Kepler that are a little bit concerning. But if he can get around a couple of those guys like Dozier, Rosario, and Kepler, I think he'll be fine tonight.
Yeah, I do too. And I think Rosario is probably the only one-off bat that I like from the Twins. Just he's always super cheap, especially when he faces these aces, and he just seems to just mash like every pitch.
Yeah, he really does, and he is a guy even if he's facing a good pitcher, he has solid plate discipline numbers. He walks a decent amount, and he's just a really good underrated hitter.
Yankee side of things here with Odorizzi. We're taking a look at Odorizzi, a little bit here, and just getting crushed by lefties so far. That's usually not the case.
Yeah, he was kind of known as a reverse splits guy. You could just load up right-handed hitters on him last year, and this season so far, it's kind of started to normalize, mostly because he's just getting obliterated by left-handed hitters. I mean, if you look, lefties have a 407 xWOBA against him, a 411 WOBA already this season against him. So those numbers are pretty close to in line, a 417 ISO. There's some concerning numbers for Odorizzi against lefties, and I think it comes from his pitch mix. He's started to dial back on a couple of I think we were looking at his curveball. He started to dial back on a little bit, or actually, where is it?
His curveball's up a little bit.
Yeah, his curveball's up a little bit. His cutter is way down. His slider's up a little bit. His changeup is down a little bit. And his fastball is up a little bit. So if he's going to continue some of these struggles against lefties, you're going to get guys like Didi Gregorius, who is pulling every single home run he's ever hit out into right field. It's going to be an excellent option here.
Yeah, I definitely like Gregorius. I mean, coming in as one of the top shortstop options on his slate. I don't mind Gardner or Hicks to kind of continue that lefty. Probably a little bit more so on Hicks. In a little bit of a better RBI spot, a little bit more power upside for him. Of course, as always, if you want to use Sanchez, Judge, Stanton, you can here.
Yeah, I'm probably more inclined to use Judge, strictly because like everybody's still kind of loading up on Stanton, hoping for that double dong game, and it's going to come at some point eventually when he just kind of settles in and stops swinging at everything. But I think I like Judge a little bit more. And if I'm fading the Yankees, like as far as a stack, I'm still looking at a guy like Miguel Andujar, who is, for whatever freaking reason, still just ridiculously too cheap. Like the dude is absolutely raking. Over the past week, he has an 8% strikeout rate, a 560 on base percentage, an 1167 slug, 368 WRC plus. Dude is mashing everything, like 60% hard contact rate. Like it doesn't matter what pitcher he's facing, the dude is absolutely raking, and he's 2,800 on DraftKings. Like he's like probably the best value play on the entire slate.
Yeah, huge bargain there. Hey, don't you talk about David Dahl like that.
I will still take Miguel Andujar. Well, you can't play David Dahl on FanDuel, so it doesn't really
That's
matter.
true. That's true. Anyone else here from the Yankees?
Neil Walker, Glaber Torres, any of these guys that are going to be at the bottom of the order, like I think I actually really like the bottom of the order stack, getting away from some of the ownership at the top of the order. I don't expect Glaber Torres to go 0 for 4 tonight. Like he's still he is a really really good hitter, and he's got that first start out of his way. So I think tonight would be a great night to load up on him, and he's really cheap as well.
Yep. Cleveland, Baltimore next. You got Carlos Carrasco taking on Kevin Gossman. Indians huge favorites here against Gossman. I'm not necessarily fond of offenses in this ballpark in this matchup. Like usually I would be, but I'm kind of looking elsewhere. Like I'm kind of overlooking this game and kind of focusing more on the pitchers here.
I like both pitchers in this game, and I went really in depth on Kevin Gossman in the pitching article today. Like biggest reason is like he's just really freaking cheap, and it's on like an SP2 site at 5,800. Whenever like the chalk is going to be riding like Walker Bueller, you can get Kevin Gossman, who has strikeout upside in this matchup, for like cheaper and much lower ownership. He's a guy's kind of changed his delivery a little bit. Instead of like bringing his hands and resting him like in front of his face in his windup, he's actually bringing his hands behind his head and then bringing him down. And he struggled a little bit. He said he struggled a little bit hitting his hat because he wasn't quite used to that new delivery, but he said he felt really good using it. And this is an Indians team that does have some strikeouts. Like we're talking about a team that's striking about 24.4% of the time this season. And obviously you have some good hitters in there like Jose Ramirez and Lindor and some of these guys. But I think this is a spot where Gossman can kind of go like 6 innings, maybe 6 or 7 strikeouts, maybe a couple earned runs, but still have a shot at a win.
Yeah, I think he can too. Like, I think you can see him kind of limited damage. Like, I definitely think there is going to be, a few earned runs in there, but there is some strikeouts. I'm not quite sure that, Cleveland's just going to go run him out before the third inning here tonight. It's not like that offense. They've kind of heated up a little bit, but that offense has been kind of underperforming so far to start this season.
Yeah, it really has. And like it does concern me a little bit when using a guy like Carrasco, who I think is going to be the top pitcher on the slate strictly because of matchup. Like if we want to flip it to the Orioles side of this game, I mean, they're a team that's striking out like 27% of the time this season. Like you're obviously concerned about Manny Machado double donging again. Dude's just out here ruining everything every single day, apparently. But like the dude Carrasco, he's 3 straight quality starts. He's been outstanding this season. It's really not much to say. Like he has a lot of strikeout upside in the spot. I'm a little concerned with the win probability. Like I know Vegas is really high on him, but like I said, I think this is a spot where Gossman could, kind of shut down some of these Indians players. And if that's the case, it's going to be really tough to pay that price for Carrasco if I think there's a chance that he doesn't get the win here.
Yeah, I think so. Like, Cash Games, I definitely don't mind him. When you're looking at, you got like what, Tanaka, a 3K difference, with some strikeout upside as well. A couple other options in that range. So I'm curious to see. Obviously Baltimore is a team that does strike out a ton. I would be kind of being willing to fade like Carrasco and GPPs and hoping that they get to him a little bit. But I think Cash Games, he's absolutely fine.
Yeah, for sure.
So one-off bets, obviously you can use Machado here. Baltimore's got to be stoked. He's driving up that trade bargaining here.
Yeah, he really is. Like, he'd probably be the only person that I would even want to get exposure to. But like, if you wanted to like try to hedge on ownership and tournaments and stack Baltimore, like you could look at Machado, Adam Jones, Trey Mancini as guys. But like, I don't know that that's a very viable strategy.
No. I think Indians bats, I think the only real ones I had interest in were like Lindor and Ramirez.
Maybe some Brantley.
Yeah, Brantley at his prices, he's still too cheap.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's move on. Oakland and Texas next year. Oakland gets a little bit of a park bump going into Texas against Matt Moore. You got Trevor Cahill on the other side of that one. Definitely like the Oakland bats here. I don't think they're going to actually be – I think they're going to be the contrarian team that I look to use tonight because I just think there's 5 or 6 other offenses that people are going to rather gravitate towards.
I completely agree, and I love the Oakland offense in the spot going up against Matt Moore. Like, this is an offense that we know does strike out from time to time. I mean, 26% against lefties, but they also have they're well above league average. Like, I mean, they're 39% hard contact to lefties this season, 330 WOBA. Like, there's some bats in this lineup for Oakland that are in really, really good spots. And outside of like Jed Lowry, who continues to defy age and just about everything I know about baseball, is a guy I think he'd be like maybe the only popular option here.
Yeah, I think that would be it just because he's leading the league in ribbies.
Something like that, yeah.
It's just out of control. And I don't even mind like a Matt Olson, like, despite the lefty on lefty matchup. I mean, limited sample size, but expected a little bit 419 dating back to last year, 183 ISO. Hits curveballs pretty well. There's some power there. Look at Moore. I mean, Moore 434 WOBA to lefties dating back to last year, 1.85 home runs per 9. Like, he has struggled against both sides of the plate.
Yeah, he's just struggled in general. Like, Moore is just outside of his outing against the Rays, just not a good pitcher. There's so many bats to really like. Like, unfortunately, with guys like Olson, you can only use him in tournaments because he just strikes out way too much. He just has no plate discipline at all. But like Matt Chapman, another guy that strikes out, but he's actually doing much better this season, and he's been freaking phenomenal. Chad Pender, Jake Smolinski, Chris Davis. I love Simeon batting potentially in the leadoff spot here. Piscotty up in the 2-hole, decent spot for him. And even a guy like Mark Canha, who's like 3,100 on DraftKings. Dude has been raking since joining the team this season. Like, he's in an excellent spot here.
Yeah, I saw Jake Smolinski get mixed into the lineup, I think, one of the days over the weekend. I think it might have been against Sale. If he corrects, like this isn't A's lineup, I'm just going to basically wait till it comes out because there are a handful of ways they can go here. I would not be afraid to like bottom stack this lineup either.
No, you can definitely get some exposure to the bottom half of that lineup because there's going to be guys like right now the projected lineup has Canha 7th, Pender 8th, Lucroy 9th. That's a decent stack. And even a guy like Lucroy at catcher, he's actually been hitting the ball pretty well this season. So I even like him at his price tag here.
Yeah, I do too. I think he's like top 5 in contact rate.
Yeah, he's up there.
So, yeah, definitely like these Oakland bats. Texas side things here, I don't have a ton of interest. Like, Cahill's a decent pitcher. I don't know if I really like him tonight, just with some of the other options, although he is super cheap on FanDuel for like a one-off if you want to absolutely just stack bats.
My biggest concern with Cahill in the spot is the fact that he's a guy that relies pretty heavily on that knuckle curve. And there are some guys in this Texas lineup that have power against it. Joey Gallo specifically, a 438 ISO against it. You have Delino DeShields, who's back at 333 ISO. Like, there are a couple guys that could get to him, but this is a Rangers lineup that is still striking out like 25% of the time against right-handed pitching. So there is some strikeout potential for Cahill here.
Yeah, like he's definitely just a GPP guy, but I think he's a viable like SP2, and if you really want to get weird on FanDuel, you can, because I mean, it's a guy, over 20% strikeout rate dating back to last year, 57% ground ball rates. doesn't give up a ton of hard contact. It's pretty average. Not a lot of fly balls as well. Like, there's obviously risk, but I think there is some potential at these prices for some solid upside.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw the upside out of him in his last game, his first start of the season against the White Sox. 31 fantasy points on DraftKings. He went 7 innings, struck out 8. Like, that's kind of the games that you're gonna get out of him whenever he's putting up solid outings, and then you're gonna get like really, really bad games out of him whenever he's getting shelled. So, like, it's one of those situations where if he's gonna come out and actually that curveball's gonna be working for him, he's gonna kind of cruise. But if that curveball's not working for him, and there's a chance it doesn't tonight, then he's gonna struggle.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, like, the one-off bats, like, it's probably just Gallo for me.
Gallo, DeShields, Beltre would be the guys that I would have the most interest in.
Seattle and Chicago next year. Mike Leake taking on Miguel Gonzalez. The blurb on top of Fangraphs is Miguel Gonzalez isn't pitching for his job just yet. So he's been awful. I mean, he's been a stacking target, I think, each time. Basically, he's been on the hill this year. And going up against a Seattle team that has a ton of pop and in a good ballpark and severely underpriced, I feel, across the industry.
Yeah, the only reason Miguel Gonzalez is not pitching for his job is the fact that outside of Reynaldo Lopez, every single one of the White Sox pitchers has been absolutely atrocious this season. Like, that's why he's not pitching for his job, because none of these other pitchers are any good either. So, like, it doesn't really matter.
No.
The dude's actually – he's walked more batters than he struck out.
Yeah. Like, I mean, if dating back to last year, like 372 Woba to lefties, 1.49 homers per 9. Going to face obviously several very good lefties in this lineup, but also like Nelson Cruz and Haniger and Segura here, because he's just absolutely getting pulverized from both sides of the plate.
Yeah, the Mariners are going to punish him. Vegas has him at like 4.9 runs. Like, I'm going to take the over on that one, because like I think they just, especially in this park, like, this is a good hitting environment. I'm definitely gonna take the over. Like, I love the Mariners stack. They're my top stack of the entire night, over Coors and some of these others.
Yeah, I'm with you. They were the first team I put in the stacking article today, and it's still one of those ones where I like it kind of 1 through 7. I don't mind possibly mixing in and starting it with like a Cano and going down to like a Cano, Cruz, Seager, Haniger, Vogelbach type stack, because there are a number of different ways you can go here.
How dare you disrespect Mike Zunino?
He is back. He's got a ton of power.
How dare you, sir?
He would be a punt option at catcher.
I mean, if you're not going like Gary Sanchez at catcher, like, there's not a ton of great options to really like. So Zunino in the stack works extremely well. I love him in the spot. But yeah, anybody starting with Nelson Cruz, I think you're kind of dumb if you don't start your lineup on DraftKings with Nelson Cruz at 4,300. Like, that's almost like a free square. But Mitch Haniger is absolutely raking right now. He's another guy with a lot of power against right-handed pitching. You mentioned Robbie Cano. Robbie Cano has been raking recently too. So like I like all these guys, Segura, everyone.
Yeah, I do too. Other side of things here, I think Lee can have obviously a decent start. I don't know. For him, it's when he gives up like 7 or 8 base runners and he doesn't have enough to really kind of counter it with the strikeouts. But I mean, there obviously still is some strikeout upside here with this White Sox team. That's just they are striking out a ton.
They do strike out a lot, and like unless it's who was it yesterday? Who didn't get strikeouts yesterday? Someone, McCullers. Yeah,
he didn't.
I think he only had like 2 or 3 yesterday. Let me double check. Yeah, he only had 3 strikeouts across 6 innings. So unless your name is Lance McCullers, you're able to strike out a lot of these White Sox bats.
You strike out 11 Mariners, 3 White Sox bats.
GG baseball.
Yep. I like Yoan Moncada here. Like, I don't mind like Abreu. I'm not going terribly deep into this White Sox team just on this slate where I like so many offenses better, but those would probably be the two guys that I'd have some interest in.
Yeah, I have more interest in Leak as a value SP2 than I do the White Sox bats, just because Leak is a guy, like, he doesn't have a lot of strikeout stuff, but he's a guy outside of, the Astros rarely gets blown up. So I think there's potential for him to be solid here. Um, Abreu, you mentioned he's in a good spot. I do kind of like him. I don't mind Wellington, Castillo, and obviously Mancada's power speed upside gives him a really high ceiling.
Yeah, he's had some pretty good contact numbers against sinkers so far. I mean, 84% contact rate, which is kind of always the issue with him. 42% hard contact rate as well, and he's a guy who's been running freely. I mean, really, this White Sox team has been running freely, both him and like Tim Anderson.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Tim Anderson is really not very good at baseball, so I don't know that you can use him.
No, I'm not taking him here tonight, but just saying. Anyone else here?
If you wanted to roll out like a stack, you toss in like Nicky Delmonico. That'd be about it.
Yeah. LA and Houston. LA kind of offense has fallen off the map a little bit over the last few games. They won't get any easier tonight against Garrett Cole. I don't mind Garrett Cole. I don't think I'm going to be paying the price tag.
I think he's an excellent tournament option. Like if you're paying up at pitcher in tournaments, just because he does have strikeout upside in this matchup. Like I know he's kind of struggled a little bit against the Mariners, and generally speaking, the Angels are a team that is pretty good. They don't strike out very often, but like if you look at their past week, I'm pulling it up right now. It's in my pitching article, but over the past week, they've struck out 23.3% of the time, and they posted a 52 WRC plus.
And it's not like they've been facing like elite arms.
No, they haven't. Like they've just kind of been puttering along, and Andrelton Simmons, if he's out of that lineup, that takes a contact / non-strikeout bat out of that lineup. There's potential for Garrett Cole to put up a good game here. Like I kind of went on a little bit of rant in the pitching article. Like I understand Garrett Cole is not going to strike out 40% of batters he faces, but somewhere between all the noise of he is going to regress and like he's like the best pitcher in the history of baseball is a middle ground in which Garrett Cole rests. And he is still a guy that has a lot of strikeout potential. So I like him in tournaments. His price is kind of tough to pay, but no one's going to use him in this spot, I don't think.
I don't think so either. So yeah, I think ownership leverage play like that's a fine, especially with all the value. Like, people. I don't think people like are going to go up and just be like, oh, yeah, I can bump my guy up to Garrett Cole. Like they're not going to do that.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I don't really have interest in Angels bats at all.
If obviously Ohtani won't be batting, so that takes all the interest out of the Angels because he's the only good hitter they have.
Oh man, and there's probably going to be someone that just doesn't know that you're kidding.
I am definitely kidding. Like if you want to work in like a Mike Trout, Justin Upton, some of these guys, feel free. But I don't know that I'm really actively looking to target anyone. I think Albert Pujols has some good BVP against Cole, but that's about it.
Is that the old Cole? Because this is the new Cole. New Cole on the block.
Yeah, Albert Pujols, 5 at-bats, 1 homer, 2 RBIs, 200 batting average. Justin Upton, 11 at-bats, 1 RBI, 364 average.
I think Billy Hamilton hit off 300 off Cole.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Houston side of things here, I do not have any interest in Skaggs at all.
No, the Houston Bats, they flipped the switch. They did it. They successfully did what the Cavaliers have not done. They flipped the switch. I'm sorry, Cleveland fans. Yeah, they're hitting really, really well, except for they didn't hit Lopez very well, but that's because Reynaldo Lopez throws like 140 miles per hour. But I do like the Astros in this spot. Obviously, I think they're going to be a popular stack because they're the Astros and they're always popular. There are a decent amount of bats in the spot that I think you can consider, but yeah, I'm definitely not using Skaggs here.
No, I mean, 336 Woba to righties dating back to last year, 36% hard contact rates. Yeah, I would expect like a George Springer leadoff homer again here. Always an option. Kind of digging into some of these guys here. Like you look at Skaggs, I mean, he's a guy who throws Mainly, I mean, sinkers and curveballs for the most part. And kind of looking at some of these guys that do hit curveballs well. I mean, obviously Altuve, Bregman stand out. Um, Gurriel here, I really like as a GPP option.
Yeah, I could get behind some Yuli Gurriel. Just looking at guys that hit like curveballs extremely well. It's small sample last season for Yuli, but 333 ISO. You have Bregman 538 ISO, Springer 429 ISO, um, McCann 500 ISO. There's some power in this lineup, that's for sure.
Yeah, like I'm looking at quite a bit of these bats here. I'm going to be kind of, I think I'm going to be, I'll have a stack, but I think they're going to be more one-offs for me where like, oh, hey, I have an extra, 5K at second base so I can use an Altuve or, have an extra outfield spot I can use on Springer. But of course, I think you do have to like at least make one Houston lineup here for a stack.
Yeah, I would do like if you're trying to be contrarian, like I would get like the Yuli Gurriel and the Alex Bregman and maybe the Marwin Gonzalez guys and towards the middle of that lineup and just hope the top three batters don't just go bananas.
Yeah, which it's a tough risk to take, but it is possible.
It is definitely possible. And if for some reason Max Stassi makes a lineup, please, for the love of God, please Max Stassi make the lineup. I do love him in this spot. 320 ISO against lefties dating back to last season.
Yeah. That it from this one?
Yes, play all of Houston. They're 1 through 9 in play.
Yeah. Coors game here, San Diego and Colorado. You got Brian Mitchell taking on Chad Bettis. Usually Coors is expensive. That really isn't the case here outside of like Blackman and Arenado.
Yeah, that is definitely true. You get guys like if you're playing on DraftKings, you get David Dahl, who is almost a free square. You have Ryan McMahon, who's really, really cheap. Yeah, a little bit of mispricing in this spot. That's for sure.
Yeah, ownership's going to be there. They're still tough fade. I think David Dahl, especially at 2.8, guy has some pop against right-handers. We've seen it before because he's played. We've used him in DFS before, but not according to FanDuel.
He just doesn't exist according to FanDuel for some reason.
There is no minor league system according to FanDuel. It's only Major League Baseball.
Exactly. They just for some reason they don't have a lot of minor leaguers in their player pool. Like I probably scroll through and find some now that I've said this, but like they just for some reason don't put a lot of these guys in their player pool, and it really it sucks because these guys get called up and then you have to wait like 3 days to use them.
Yeah, it's a bummer. Let's look at this Colorado side here against Mitchell. Obviously, fine with using like Blackman Arenado, but I do have more interest in kind of value here. I had Edison interesting catching option at 3.5. He's had over 200 ISO against righties dating back to last year, especially if he's hitting up in the top half of the lineup, which I would kind of expect him to, given that Colorado's pretty banged up right now.
Yeah, I wish Mitchell's like hard contact numbers were a little bit better. Like if you look dating back to last season, 38.5% to lefties, but he's done an okay job limiting hard contact this season. He's not been a guy that's really struggled with homers, but he does really struggle with walks. Like he's walked 17 hitters through 19 and 2/3. And when you start walking these guys, you don't really leave yourself any room for error. And you throw one bad pitch and someone's going to hit it out and you're racking up like 3 earned runs off one terrible pitch. So I love Blackman in the spot. Excellent cash game option, excellent tournament option. But I think I'm gonna try to limit my exposure to like Dahl, McMahon, and the cheap guys towards like the bottom of that order.
Yeah, I mean, ton of upside for those guys. Like you said, the hard contact is to lefties. The only positive thing I'll say about Mitchell is the ground ball rate. That's it.
Yeah,
that's all he has, but I'm not worried.
Yeah. And let me pull up the tweet. Ian Desmond, let me find it. This came across my timeline this morning.
Is it positive Desmond news?
No. Ian Desmond is hitless in his last 39 at-bats against right-handed pitching dating back to April 2nd.
Oh, God. He hits below 100 ISO against righties dating back to last year.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Ian Desmond. He went to Coors and died.
But for every player that we've talked shit about so far this year, they've homered. So keep an eye on that for Desmond tonight.
There you go. And DJ LeMay, he was absolutely terrible. Worst hitter in baseball. Don't use him. He's freaking gross.
There we
I'm
go.
trying to jinx him. So because I like LeMahieu in this spot. Dude's just absolutely again another guy that's absolutely raking the season. He's in a contract year, so he's out here trying to hit home runs, even though it's kind of crazy. I think all 5 of his home runs this season have come on the road.
Yeah, they have. I think 3 of them were in Pittsburgh.
2 of them were in Washington.
Yeah,
Three of them were in Washington.
Oh, it was Washington. Yeah,
2 of them off Gio.
That's right. Yeah, Colorado bats obviously in play. San Diego side here, you keep referencing Cy Bettis here, which is always funny, but he hasn't been bad.
He has not been bad, and he's actually been better at home in his career. Like I'm pulling up his numbers. I'm taking out last year because last year was the bad year when he was coming back from what was it, cancer?
Cancer, yeah.
2016 ERA at home 4.44, like nothing great, but 4.44 at Coors is not terrible. 5.06 ERA on the road, like 3.30 WOBA allowed at home, 3.34 on the road. It's actually been better at home. I can't explain it, but it's there. I think the same as for John Gray, but it's still Coors, and these Padres bats are going to go overlooked in the spot.
Yeah, they definitely are, and they're underpriced. I think Will Myers is going to be one of the guys I'm clicking into my lineup mostly here. 3-6 Woboff changeups dating back to last year, 260 ISO. I look at Bettis throwing changeups about 30% of the time this season, and Will Myers just has solid numbers at Coors over his career. Guy I'm getting exposure to. Bettis this year is allowing some hard contact rate to lefties. I do think Hosmer and like Freddie Galvis are interesting. I don't know why Cordero's not projected in the lineup.
I don't know, but he should be in there, and he's a power option to consider. And just looking, Will Myers, it's 16 at bat sample size against Bettis, 500 batting average, a homer, and 5 ribbies.
Yeah, Myers should crush tonight.
Myers should crush. Franchi Cordero should crush. You're going to get some of these other guys that anybody that gets in that lineup, like if they throw out some weird lineup, anybody that's in there, like I don't mind Asuaje down towards the bottom of the order. Austin Hedges is going to strike out a lot, but also has a lot of pop.
Yeah, it looks like this weather should be okay tonight. Rather warm night there too.
Yeah, that could be a problem.
Yeah, so usually we've been on the you can avoid Coors, but I think tonight I'm going to be making it a little bit higher priority than I have the past few weeks.
For sure.
So moving on to the later games here. It kind of takes a steep dive as far as offenses go in these last 2 games. But you got Buehler making his debut here against Garcia. Buehler not on the FanDuel slate as you'd expect, but he is on DraftKings at 6,200.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him come back up. He pitched 9 innings in relief last season for the Dodgers, but this is a kid. I've actually made it a point to go see him pitch whenever he's been on the mound here for the OKC Dodgers. Dude has some filthy stuff. He's got a fastball that I've seen touch over 100 miles an hour. He's got they call it a slutter. It's a slider / cutter that's is really, really nasty. And according to pitch quality numbers, his curveball ranked in the top 6 percentile of the entire majors last season. That's pretty good. He's got a nasty curveball as well. This dude's got stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited, and I'm going to be definitely taking some shots on him, as probably a lot of people will be. It's not like people know who he is. He'll be talked about today. You're not going to catch anyone off guard, but he's a huge home favorite. You couldn't really ask for a better matchup against Miami here at home to start things off. 6,200, I don't mind him. I still think there is some potential where he could struggle a little bit, but just given the fact that walks could be an issue, but this is still a spot where he should be fine.
Yeah, there is risk with him. Roberts came out and said that he believes that Bueller can go 6 innings and about 90 pitches. The biggest issue is if he's going to walk guys, which has been an issue for him. 7.71 walks per nine in his 9 innings of relief last season. His walks have been down in the minors this season. He's and it's only 13 innings, but 2 walks, 1 walk, and 1 walk across his 3 outings. If his walks are going to be under control, then he could go deep into this game. He has a lot of strikeout potential against this Marlins team that strikes out a ton, 25% to start the season. I like him. I don't know if you're using him in cash because there is a lot of risk with him, but in tournaments, there's also a decent amount of upside.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, I'm not going there in cash games, but GPPs definitely.
Yeah, and his issues against righties, like I expect to normalize like a little bit. I mean, a 462 BABIP, that's a little bit high, just a little bit. Still decent hard contact numbers to them last season, a decent ground ball rate to them. I think this is a long-winded way of saying I think he has a lot of potential here.
Yeah, I'm not diving into Marlins bats here.
I wouldn't say no to like a one-off of like Real Muto or Rojas or something like that are really cheap.
I guess Justin Bour's 3-1. The problem is I just like too many other bats.
I just like way too many other first basemen to use Justin Bour in this spot. But like I said, catcher's not exactly like really strong. I guess Real Muto is 3,700 on DraftKings. That's a little tough.
Yeah, I think I probably use Iannetta for 3.5.
Or Grandal or someone else.
Yeah. Dodgers bats here. I'm not super intrigued. One, they are value bats, but I like value bats more somewhere else. I will say Matt Kemp is interesting at his price. He's super cheap on FanDuel. He's a guy that I'll be looking to play there. A little bit more priced appropriate on DK at 3,700, but not a ton of interest. I think Kemp would be the only one here for me.
Kemp is interesting. I don't hate Austin Barnes if he makes the lineup. Enrique Hernandez in his 900 different positions that he's listed at, wherever you're looking, you can roll him out. He's obviously the guy that you're almost always considering when he's facing a lefty, but his price is kind of up there, so I don't necessarily like him at first base there. Grandal, again, a guy I don't absolutely hate. Bellinger is a guy, a lefty on lefty, not a terrible spot, but I was a little bit wrong on Garcia. Like, I actually think he has a little bit more stuff than the numbers show, and he has not been terrible to start the season.
No, he hasn't. I'm slightly baffled that the Dodgers have a slightly higher implied total than the Mariners do.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Yeah, but this might just be the big market bias that Vegas has on the Dodgers, and probably I think they're expecting a lot of people to go, oh, look at this Garcia guy. No one knows who he is. Dodgers should put up a ton of runs, and I don't think that's going to be the case.
Yeah, and it's not like Garcia's faced like bad teams. Like if you look, I mean, he's given up 2 earned runs, and those came against the Phillies. But I mean, he shut down the freaking Yankees, shut down the Mets, shut down the Cubs. Like, these are not bad offenses that he's coming out and putting up solid numbers against. And like we've seen, like last night with the Dodgers, just apparently just didn't want to play, getting shut down by Jeremy Hellickson. So I think there's a path to Jarlin Garcia being a viable tournament option, with the other guy on the other side of that game being the popular option.
Yeah. Let's move on. San Francisco, Washington next here. Chris Stratton. Jesus, I'm getting Chris Stratton, Gio Gonzalez.
Whew, man, so exciting to consider both of these guys. Gio actually made it in my tournament or in my pitching article. I think this is a spot where Gio can have some success. Strikeouts this season have been outstanding. He's limited just about every kind of hard contact, limited his walks, limited home runs. I won't go too in depth into some of the reasons even more why I like him, because it is in the pitching article. But against this Giants team that doesn't have a lot of scary bats in that lineup, I think there's some room for Gio to put up a solid outing here.
Yeah, I do too. Obviously, good ballpark to pitch in against the San Francisco team that's just been Struggling against lefties to start the year. I mean, you really only have a handful of bats really to worry about anyway. It's pretty much Cutchin, Posey. I guess you can mention Austin Jackson against lefties, but still going to get a couple of those lefties in that lineup. 23% strikeout rate against both sides of the plate. Yeah, I'm very well okay with using Gio here. He's a great late night guy, to kind of put in and watch him bump up that leaderboard a little bit.
Yeah, I don't hate Nick Hundley. As a guy, assuming he makes the lineup, he's got a 239 ISO against lefties dating back to last season. And then we have to talk about Mac Williamson, who is the new Babe Ruth, 316 ISO against lefties in 19 plate appearances, but a 37% strikeout rate.
I was about to say, I think Posey was scratched the other day, but it looks like he got back in the lineup.
Yeah, he got back in, but I think even whenever Hundley didn't get in the lineup on that day, did he?
No, it was Pablo Sandoval. Because what strengthens a team's lineup? Pablo Sandoval.
Yeah, but you do have games where Hundley and Posey are in the lineup together, so.
Yeah, you will see Posey play first.
Yeah.
I don't really have any interest in Giants bats. If this was maybe a different slate where I didn't like as many offenses, I'd have some interest in Cutchin or Posey. I will say Kutch is cheap on DraftKings at $3,400.
Yeah, I don't hate like I said the one-offs of a Hundley, Posey, Kutch, Mac Williamson, Babe Ruth.
Washington side of things here, I don't have a ton of interest. Trey Turner is someone interesting in GPPs here, starting to get together a little bit. He'd be just kind of a pivot off of maybe some guys like Correa and Lindor. You
can always look at Bryce Harper. Obviously, guy hits a lot of home runs, walks a lot. Rarely gives you a dud. Is extremely pricey though. I would rather go with Charlie Blackmon in a better spot. I definitely got Chris Stratton way, way wrong. He is apparently a freaking really, really good pitcher. And I just don't know that I really want to pick on him with the Nationals offense that it's kind of meh whenever you take out Anthony Rendon and some of these other guys.
Yeah, I'm not thrilled. I will say Stratton's hard contact I think is still really concerning.
It is a little bit, but some of that's mitigated by the fact that, there's a cavernous, ballpark behind him.
Yeah, it's true. This game, last two games of the night, really not tremendous offensive powerhouse teams.
No.
So, home run calls, who do you got tonight?
Nelly Cruz and Joey Gallo.
You've had those lined up since Friday, apparently, because that was way too quick.
I was ready.
Didi Gregorius for me. And Gregorius. Matt Chapman.
Every time I hear his name, I get that in my head.
Oh, man. Yeah, Matt Chapman, my second one there.
There we go.
So that's it for us. Good luck tonight. Be sure to check out the articles, cheat sheets over at dailyfantasycafe.com, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Good luck.